Hi, class. Hope everything went okay today. I didn't get any emails that the videos were problematic, so hopefully you were able to access them from yesterday. Today's video is probably going to be a little shorter, and hopefully there's only one. Yesterday there was a glitch, like I explained, and it didn't record the second half, so I had to add on to it. So hopefully today's will be a little shorter, and today we're going to talk about essays again and try to work on the ACT Aspire essay. Unfortunately, there's a lot of construction building right next door to me, and they are working right now with a bunch of large trucks and equipment. So if you hear a lot of banging, I'm sorry, but there's no quiet room to go to since the construction's going on. So we'll just do the best we can and just ignore any background noise. Today, we are going to switch to the ACT Aspire essay that we started last week. And we're going to go through the prompt, and the goal is then to have you write the second body paragraph and the conclusion, which you haven't done yet. And then you're going to turn that into me in Google Classroom, and then that will be due by Thursday, hopefully. Thursday or Friday. I think Friday. You'll get 2 days. So let's go through again. I'm going to scroll down here what the ACT Aspire prompt was that we've been working with. So it was about inventions, if you remember that. I'm going to move this up just a little bit. Don't want to do that. So it says, through the years, new inventions have changed the way we live. Think about one invention that hasn't had an impact on the way you live. Now write to explain to your community how this invention has had the biggest impact on your life and how inventions in general impact people's lives. So that's going to be the prompt that you're still addressing. We have already written, or if you were in class, you should have written the introduction for this, and you should have added it to a Google Doc. And then we added the first body paragraph last week, where you did the portion that talks about let me move my arrow over here. Oops. Where you had to write about the part right here, where explain how the biggest impact on how you lived, and which one had the biggest impact on your life. So you should have that done. So today we're going to work on reviewing a little bit just about that structure, and then you're going to add the second body paragraph and the conclusion. Now, there was a 4-paragraph essay structure diagram that I went over in class last week. I'm going to try to switch screens, and hopefully this will work so that you can see the graphic organizer again. And then I'll be talking through it, and then we'll come back and talk about what are some points of what you have to do to develop the second body paragraph. So let me pull up this other screen here. Okay, so this is a diagram that I drew on the board last week. And again, it's just sort of an illustration of this is the introduction, and it starts off where my cursor is like an upside down triangle. So it's like a funnel. The top part is going to be the broad universal idea, and that's going to be the hook. And then you're going to narrow, like we talked about, to the bridge, where in the middle, right in here somewhere, you have to start introducing the topic. And in this case, it's inventions. And then at the bottom, that point of the funnel is the narrowest and most specific. And that's where you actually state the 2 things you're going to write about. And that is called your thesis statement. And that's where you should have at the very end of your introduction paragraph right here, a sentence that says, the most important invention in my life is the iPhone. Or the most important invention that's changed my life is the internet. And you've listed what it is. And then you also have to address what you're going to talk about in the second body paragraph. And that is that inventions are also important to society. So you should have the 2 parts of your prompt down here at the end of that funnel. So remember that introduction maybe is 5 to 7 sentences, and most of you already did that last week. So then you move to this first rectangle that represents the first body paragraph. You should also have that done. That was addressing the personal part for you. What is the most important invention? And you had to develop it with examples and at least one anecdote. And it was supposed to be about 15 sentences. And be sure you are still using like descriptions, adjectives, transition words, like another example is, or another way that the iPhone helps me is, or additionally, comma. And there is a list of those transitions on page 62 of your blue reference book that you can have out while you're working on this. And you need to start that paragraph by introducing the first invention that's really impacted me is the blank, and we call that the topic sentence. So you introduce your topic, and then at the end of your 15, 16, 17 sentences, you need to conclude. Overall, the iPhone has really benefited me, and you just sort of wrap up. Now we're ready for this paragraph, and it's going to be the one you work on today. It is the second body paragraph. It's going to be over the second part of the prompt, that very last part I'll pull up in a minute, about how do inventions affect society. So you're not going to talk about the iPhone anymore. I would avoid the iPhone or whatever you talked about up here, because if you still mention how it's beneficial to society, you're going to repeat a lot of the same ideas of how it was beneficial to you. So I would pick completely different inventions that you haven't mentioned yet and talk about them in relation to society and how they help your mom, your dad, your siblings, your school, the government, people who are traveling, and go outside just yourself. So we'll go back into that in just a second. Down here is the regular pyramid looking triangle. That's going to be the conclusion. It sometimes is shorter than the introduction because you don't have a hook. So it could be maybe 3 to 5 sentences. You're going to start at the point, which is the most specific, and then you're going to go general to sort of a universal lesson or maybe an idea. So you're going to start by restating the prompt again at the point. So right up here, you're going to say, overall, the iPhone plus all these other inventions have benefited us. And you're just going to restate it. And then you're going to move into a couple general statements about how society will always invent, or inventions will continue to grow, and we all benefit from them, and there will be more in the future, and just some sort of concluding statement. So you want to be really general at the end of the introduction. You don't want to say a new invention and start naming ones that you haven't already listed. So again, I'll post this in Google Classroom, so you'll have this. I did also get a request yesterday to have the notes, these typed notes that are in the video background screen, also posted, since it's probably hard to keep up with them while you're also listening to the video. And I do think it's important to watch the videos because, yay, you get to see me. But also it does maybe help you feel like you're more in class where I talk through things and you still get to see the teacher. So excuse the fact that the filming quality is not going to be that great sometimes, and I have to sit in random places around my house, but I do want you to feel like we're still together. So again, I will post this. I will also post the notes from yesterday and today as soon as I get this recorded, so that you can go back over the ones over Mango Street if you couldn't keep up with the video. And then tomorrow we're going to go back to video with Mango Street again. So let me get back to the other page about what are we going to do right here. If you can see my cursor moving, that's the second body paragraph. That's going to be the most important part of what you're going to write now. So going back to the other document, we're switching back here. The highlighted part down here is now what you're going to work on for the second body paragraph. That was the second half of the prompt. And if you remember in class, we talked about how all the prompts for the ACT Aspire test are going to have two parts. One part's going to be about you, and it's going to say something about, tell about how it's impacted your life or what is your experience. And that's what you did in the first body paragraph. And then you're always going to look, regardless of the prompt, for a second part. And the second part is going to use a general universal word like society, community, people, America, and it's going to be about everybody, not just about you anymore. So when you go back up to the top part here, the whole prompt ends with, in general, how do inventions impact people's lives? And then it goes from you to people. And notice it's also inventions with an S right here. It doesn't say pick one invention for society. It says how have inventions, plural, impacted people. So you can talk about lots of different inventions in this paragraph, not just one. And like I said before, do not talk about the one you already talked about, or it's going to sound very repetitive. So let's go back down to what you have to do now. So you're going to be moving away to a different invention than what you already wrote about. And because it says inventions, you're going to have to think of maybe 5 or 6, I would think, for this length paragraph. It should still be about 15 or so body paragraphs for a body sentences for a body paragraph. And the bulleted points are things you need to try to include. Multiple examples, like I just said, at least 5 of different inventions that you feel have helped or benefited society. And it says how, which means you have to have an explanation. You can't just list and say the plane is important, electricity is important, because you didn't tell how. So you're going to have to list the invention, and then after it have 1 or 2 sentences giving reasons or examples of how it's benefited people. So you might say electricity has been really important, and then you give me another follow-up sentence saying, for example, and then you tell about electricity, like you can stay up at night and do homework because you don't have to work by candlelight after dark like they had to in the pioneer days, and you can still use electric light to be able to conduct all of your schoolwork or your family activities even after the sun goes down. Additionally, try to include an anecdote. We talked about an anecdote being required in the first paragraph. It's a lot easier when you're writing about yourself, but you could also include a short example or story about a friend, a grandparent, a parent. It doesn't have to be about you. There are lots of stories or even historical examples you might be familiar with about how Amelia Earhart flew a plane, or how Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. If you have any background knowledge, you can include an anecdote about the historical invention. For example, you could even talk about a parent maybe who travels a lot for work and how they fly frequently. And if they didn't have the invention of the airplane, your parent couldn't do the job the way they do. Or maybe you have a parent who works from home remotely and they have to use the computer and the internet. And if they didn't have that, they couldn't telecommute. So you could explain that and tell a story about how your parent has this job, and that could take up 3 or 4 sentences. Additionally, you're still going to use varied sentence structure, which means not have everything just be short and choppy. You want to have a variety of complex and compound sentences and try to sprinkle maybe a compound sentence with a semicolon in there. Use lots of good transitions again between ideas. And I'm going to go ahead and put, I can add that here, on page 62 in the blue reader is the list of transition words. Start with a topic sentence when you start this new paragraph that's going to introduce, the first part of what you're talking about. So it's be something like, there are many inventions that have benefited society. So you're going to start with a general sentence mentioning society and the word society in your first sentence so that the reader's familiar. Oh yes, they're changing paragraphs, they're changing topics. Make sure when you're typing, you actually put like a return, and then you can tab in, since it's a word processing program, and it should look like a clear new paragraph has begun. You can end at the end of 15, 16, 17 sentences with a concluding sentence by saying something like, overall, these inventions have benefited people for hundreds of years, and then just wrap up. And that should be your second body paragraph. Now, the last thing you are going to add is your conclusion. And conclusions are relatively easy. When you are working on a timed essay, literally you have to do this in less than 5 minutes. And the conclusion can be the shortest part. It might only be 3 to 5 sentences because you will not have a hook. So, let me back up. Before I go into that, I actually forgot that I added an example of a body paragraph, and it's in italics here, and it's taken from an actual student paper that I had on my computer. So it may not be a perfect example, but it's something that maybe would seem like something that's accessible to what you would write. You can't copy it and turn it in as yours, but you can get some ideas from it. So let me go ahead and read this to you, and this would be a sample body paragraph, and then we'll switch to the conclusion. Inventions have impacted society in many different ways. Okay, so notice they mentioned society. So this is your topic sentence at the beginning of the new paragraph showing your changing points from the invention that you picked for you. The boat allowed Columbus to find America. Writing and language allows us to learn from the past. The wheel allowed the pioneers to make the trek to the West. Even today, computers let us research and find anything you want to know in less than 30 seconds. Mobile phones allow us to contact people on the other side of the world. As you can see, inventions have impacted society in a variety of ways. These things affect people in their everyday lives, even though they may not realize it. We can now wake up to an alarm that is set on our Apple Watch. We can watch Netflix on our 60-inch flat screen TV. We can get to school in under 10 minutes in our cars. Without people inventing new things, new things every day, life would still be everybody writing letters to friends, watching plays instead of movies, walking to wherever we need to go. My dad travels a lot with his job at Walmart, and he flies somewhere for business almost every week. He gets up to go to our local airport and flies to Dallas or other cities to conduct meetings. Because of technology, he can often fly home the same night to see me before I go to bed or return the next day. Without the invention of the airplane, my dad wouldn't be able to do his job this way, and he wouldn't be able to be at home as much because travel by road would keep him away from our family longer. Airline travel has made my dad and our life possible. Overall, the reason life is so much easier today than 300 years ago is because of inventions, and we have all changed because of them. Okay, that's a relatively good paragraph. Again, notice the writer used a little anecdote in the middle about her father's job at Walmart and how he flies places and how the invention of the airplane has helped them be able to have more family time together because he isn't traveling as much as if he had to drive. So that would be considered an anecdote. The others are a little bit more listing of different examples. So let me go down to the conclusion. It is the fourth paragraph of, I'm trying to move this up. Okay, it is the fourth paragraph, and it will be pretty short. I said for about 3 to 4 sentences in a timed essay, and like the diagram, it is the triangle shape where you're going to start with the point, repeating your topics, and then go out to universal. So it's the reverse of the introduction, essentially. You're going to restate what was the important invention to you, and then just say something about lots of inventions help society, and that's going to be your first sentence. And then you're just going to go more general to lots of people invent things over many years, and inventions will continue to occur, just something really general. So here is an example in italics of a conclusion paragraph. In conclusion, and again, a nice transition like that and starting a new paragraph makes it obvious that you are changing to the last paragraph. I have been impacted by the invention of the tractor, and society in general has been impacted and changed because of many varied inventions. Society continues to change over time, and new inventions will always continue to arise. Hopefully, these inventions will improve our society and help us become more efficient citizens. And that's all you have to do. So if you want to see all the different parts, this part right here that I'm trying to highlight is their point, where they repeated their topics, their thesis statement, and they mentioned the thing that they were most impacted by, the tractor, which you didn't read that paragraph, but that was their body paragraph 1, and then that society in general has been changed by inventions. And then it just moved to more general statements right here in the second part, talking about new inventions will always arise and inventions will continue to help our society, and just got more broad. And that's just like the triangle shape that we're looking at. Okay, so that is about the length that you have to have. It's not very long. So now your goal is to go back to that document that you were supposed to have typed that had your introduction and your first body paragraph. And now you are going to add the second body paragraph about this portion of the prompt about how do inventions, plural, affect society, and add the conclusion. And then you're going to turn it in to me in Google Classroom. So remember, if you have any questions, you can either email. I've been checking email regularly. I do have regular office hours between 9 to 10:30, which means I'm checking my phone or have my computer actually open, and I should see it within a couple minutes. Or I do still check my phone at least every hour throughout the rest of the day, but you may have to wait on me just a little bit longer if you email later in the day. And then you need to actually just turn in the document that's in your drive and click turn in, and you'll be turning it in under the Tuesday, March 18th assignment area. So right now I'm going to go ahead and add these notes and the slides and all that for this day. And then I will go back and add the notes from yesterday over Mango Street under the Tuesday assignment, and then you should have everything you need. But again, make sure you either post a comment in Google Classroom or you email me if you need anything. All right, tomorrow is back to Mango Street. We'll meet some new crazy people, and we will have fun talking about maybe 3 more chapters. So have fun, enjoy your new virtual schedule, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow. Bye.